Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Tami from Nutmeg Notebook and we are in Ohio and we are here at the Vitamix headquarters and we're getting a sneak peek at the Vitamix Museum, which was just established in 2022. So this is pretty special that we get to do this, and Robin Dieterich is going to be giving us a tour of the museum.
Welcome. Right this way. So as you're stepping into the Vitamix Museum, not only are you stepping into the 1920s when the company was started, but you're also stepping into what is the first company headquarters on the property, built in 1948. So at this time, Papa wasn't necessarily selling blenders. He was still running for circuit clerk. He was working as a depot agent. He had his mortuary license and was doing embalming. He had a half interest in the newspaper. And then all of a sudden, everything fell out from underneath him. At this point in time, he had lost his wife, only a few years ago. He had 2 small sons to support, and he discovered the can openers, and that's where he started his business as a pitchman. So as we go along, you can see some of his very early artifacts. And at this point in time, when we're starting our pitching, we're going to become Barnard Sales Company. And so this is even predating Natural Foods Institute or the Vitamix name. And this is the very first can opener.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
So this is where we start really getting into exceeding the customer's expectations. He sold it for 25 cents. And really his pitch at that point in time, because that was a lot of money.
Yes.
And really getting near the Depression, that was even harder for customers to reason that amount. And it was really the safest way that people could access the nutrients through canned food. As you can see, other methods at the time were knives, really sharp can openers. It wasn't the best. And so part of his pitch was he would use one of these methods to try to open a can. And then he had a Band-Aid that he soaked in red ink.
Oh.
And a big one, he'd put it over his thumb and he'd go, wait, I can do it safely. And then so he would use the poly can opener to open up the canned food.
So where was he going around and selling those?
Small fairs, Quincy, Illinois, throughout the Midwest.
Okay.
And then here you can see all of our presidents and CEOs over the time period, starting with Papa, going into his son Bill, Bill's oldest son Grover, my grandfather John, who is Bill's third child, second son, my Aunt Jody, who is John's second child. And then in 2022, we moved to our first non-family leadership with Steve, and we're very excited for him. And if you want to direct, this is the intro video. So as we make our way through, we're heading towards the late 1930s. And this is when the family is going from Illinois and moving towards Cleveland. They're traveling around the country. They're going to different fairs. They're pitching can openers, small paring knives, peelers at this point in time. But it wasn't until 1934, 1935 with the Great Lakes Exposition that they came to Cleveland. And after working the fair for 2 summers, this is where they decided Cleveland was the home to some of the most hardest working, wonderful people. And that's where they decided they wanted to build their company from. And so that's what led the family to the Cleveland area. That's where they started setting up their first health food store, which we're actually standing outside the entrance of.
Wow.
And that's where then the family has grown and taken place since, and that's where the company is today.
So did Ruth work in the health food store?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Ruth worked there, Papa worked there, Bill worked there. The kids even would help package alfalfa pills and different things.
Nice.
It was really a family business at that point in time.
Okay.
The other thing we have featured in this space is a variety of customer testimonials telling how much the brand has impacted them over the decades. The other interesting thing we have featured is in 1936, Papa was actually a renowned salesman, and Billboard magazine reached out to him asking him to write an article about the art of pitching.
Wow, that's so exciting. Well, he was good at it. I love the video, his enthusiasm and excitement, and he was just so ahead of his time.
Yeah, he's very charismatic, and we actually have several infomercials, and when we were first digitizing them, people had never seen him before, never seen the product, were like, where can I buy this chair? That probably doesn't exist because it was sold way back in the 50s.
Right.
If you're ready, we can go on through.
Okay.
And welcome to our very first health store. It was in the 1930s that the family really started getting into what health was and health foods. At this point in time, they had a vegetarian diet, which was very rare for that period of time.
Right.
And this is when they first built their first brick and mortar store. This is also around the period of 1939 is when the Vitamix started coming into the market and play. So right behind we have the original Vitamix machines as well as their cookbook. We also have photographs of the outside of the very first health food store, Natural Foods Institute, as well as the inside.
So their interest in a health food store and the Vitamix blender, was it due to any kind of health issues that either one of them had, or where did that interest come from, do you think?
Ruth's father had a lot of digestive issues, and Bill really just wanted to be the healthiest he could possibly be, and so that's what they were pursuing at the time, and really getting the education. So they were cutting out white sugars and white flours and meat and everything. And then with the blender, Ruth has been quoted to say, you know, sometimes when I'm feeling really indisposed, it's just easier to drink my dinner and to get all the nutrients that they wanted to.
So were they making like green smoothies back then?
Yep.
Okay. That's so great.
And then all the products that you can see are actually things they were selling at the store at that point in time.
I remember those toasters. My grandparents had a toaster like this, like that one there.
And really the interest started with the graters, and then we moved into the blenders, and then after that we moved into other products that would be promoting a healthier lifestyle at the time. The other interesting thing is our early sales catalogs called Eat to Live Journals of Health.
I love that.
And I always kind of jokingly say we were a little bit more ahead of the time than Dr. Furman was.
That's right. That's right.
Since that's also with his famous books.
Yeah, absolutely. So where was he getting his information about health? Did he, was he friends with a doctor, or was he just
I know there's mentions
himself?
of Dr. Kellogg. I know there's a lot of
Okay.
experimentation. They used to give out like the governmental food guides a lot with their sales and the recipes and things. As we get towards the 50s, you'll see what's called the Wheel of Life that they were also selling at that point in time.
Okay.
And they were attending lectures. They were also providing lectures themselves. So,
Okay. Did they do cooking demonstrations in the health food store as well?
yes.
Okay.
So they would call them Vitamix parties at that point in time.
Okay. That's cool though that
And
they
then
were doing that.
one of John Barnard's claims of fame is he was featured on the cover of one of the catalogs in the 1940s.
Look at that. Adorable.
Ruth wasn't able to make enough milk at the time when he was a baby, and so they actually gave him soy milk with a little bit of honey and would then mix in vegetable juices and things so he could get all of the nutrition he needed. The other story that's told in this room is actually the construction of the original building. So you might wonder why the ceiling is opened up, and that's because when they were building it, they were using salamanders to help dry the floors, and one of the trays tipped over, and the building actually caught fire at one point in time. So you see all of the burn mark
Yes.
that goes all the way back.
Wow.
We also recreated this part of the building, so that's why there's a garage door. We didn't used to have shipping docks, and so they would use the garage or they would use windows at the time.
Uh-huh.
And then over here, you can see all of different expansions over the years and how this property has grown over time with the company. Initially, when they had the health food store, started out in 801 St. Clair Avenue, then it moved several times from Prospect to Lorraine, and then rents in Cleveland were getting too high. And so Bill actually said, you know what, I'll build us a building, and if I can do it in 30 days, we'll move the company to my property in Olmsted Falls. So as you come through, you're walking into 1949 and through 1999. As you can see, we've got Papa's first infomercial going. and kind of really the start to marketing. This was also a blessing, but also a curse for us. So in the sense of it put the message out there, it really got people to understand that the blender could be used for more than just bars. But at the same point, it allowed the competition to go just like the one on TV, which wasn't quite very nice.
Right.
As we mentioned in the house, we have the 1964-1965 World's Fair. This is the booth that was featured in that photograph. And it was hugely profitable and allowed us to really fuel our innovation. In addition to demonstrating the Vitamix, it was not only just the Barnard family, but it was really families of demonstrators over the years and their families. So we're kind of really a family company, but that goes more than just mine. And we used to sell a variety of different products as people were interested in the health benefits that the Vitamix could offer. They might also be interested in dehydrated foods, or one of the very first HEPA-filtered vacuum cleaners. And we sold juicers at the time, though we didn't necessarily believe in them because they get rid of the fibers. But at the same point, they were popular, and so we gave people options and ways that they could be healthy with both. On the wall behind you, we have a variety of signage from all of our different fairs over the years. So as you can kind of see where they would have been in the different booths.
Right.
And throughout our history, we're always trying to make sure that we can make a product that really allowed you to use a healthy lifestyle. So as we come around, this is the story of the first infomercial, but this is also a recreation of the set. So on the counter, you have the Vitamix machine that Papa was demonstrating at the time, along with the cookbook. When he goes and he talks about the Wheel of Life, we have his replica. You can turn it and you can see all of the different nutrition elements that were available in the foods at that point in time. And on the counter behind, we actually have the product that he was selling for it.
That's great.
So if we wanted to find out about apricots, these are fresh. And you can see that they had 13 calcium, 2 silicon, 1 magnesium. And he did this for cereals, vegetables, fruits, beer, and chocolate, dairy products. But this allowed you to conveniently figure out what you're eating and how good it is for you.
So that Wheel of Life was something that they sold.
Yes.
So people could purchase that so that they could have better nutrition at home. That's amazing.
Yeah, you could buy it for $1, but if you're thinking about the investment to your health, that was quite significant.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, is this the actual size of the one that people could buy?
Yes. And so after the first infomercial, they sold over 400 machines. And then actually, it was so entertaining that it was aired every Saturday in New York for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
And then throughout the country. We have a letter from Ruth's father talking about rushing out of bed so they could go see the Barnard show on TV.
He was really popular.
Yes. And then as we make it through the room, this wall shows you a variety of innovations, both in marketing, product, process throughout the years. We have the Mark 20 machine, which was the first machine to ever have handles, which made it convenient for carrying. It also has suction cups on the bottom, so you could suction it to the counter so it wouldn't slide away. Our edge was really having the stainless steel container. The other interesting fact, though, is these machines can do in 2 to 3 minutes what our modern machines can do in 45 seconds or less without the need of cutting things up very small, adding extra liquids, and the modern machines are way more versatile. Then you get into the kitchen center, and these were one of the first machines that used blade reversal technology. It was also the first machine to give you color options. But these were significantly outshadowed once the 3600 really came into play. 3600 had a 10-inch saw motor and really took what high performance blending could be at that point in time. And a lot of innovations that you see within the modern machines are things that they took from that machine. So when you calculate our containers, the Action Dome provided extra space, allowing the machine to have lots of capacity. So that's why we have dome lids.
Okay.
The square shape is really good for blending, but it doesn't help with the sealing of the lid. So that's why you have a squared out container on the bottom, but a round on top so that you don't blow your lids off with steam and different things.
Okay, I did not know that. That's very interesting. What was the capacity like of this one? The ones
About a quart.
Okay, a quart.
And then at this point in time, we were very much into direct mail, magazine advertisement, selling directly. We weren't really in a lot of retail. And we were kind of international, but not enough to really make it count.
Okay.
As you get into the early 90s, though, this is when the drink machine, which is the first commercial product, came into the map. It's also when the Total Nutrition Center came out, and that's the very first household machine. And these are the modern day platform for what everything Vitamix is today. These are also the first machines that were ever designed, manufactured, and fully produced in-house. Up until this point, we were partnered with Toastmasters, so they were manufacturing all our machines. We were putting on finishing touches and things like that, but it really wasn't our full product. And this is where we completely owned it. As you go in, we have our blades. Our universal wet blade is our standard. And it's kind of interesting because really the design for this was only made in about a day. After that, you get into the different blades, ice blades, dry blades, advanced blades, and those were really specializing in things. But your universal can do just about everything you'd ever need. One of our,
Oh, just the tampers.
yeah, and then the tampers, and that helps you with your thick ingredients, your frozen desserts, and really just makes the process easier. The other thing is the machines are designed to withstand tampers. A lot of our competitors, my grandfather is famous for saying, when our tamper patent ran out, he thought everybody was going to have one. A lot of machines actually can't accommodate it. And so with our double bearings and everything, the machine is strong enough to really withstand the impact of somebody putting all their weight on it.
Right.
As they blend. The other thing is if you ever tour through our warehouse, you'll notice we have a lot of plastic gaylords and things. We're keeping our footprint small ecologically, and we have reusable gaylords so that our parts and stuff don't get damaged as frequently, but also we can keep reusing material and we're not throwing out more cardboard than necessary. And then in 1998 is when Vitamix.com came online. And so then, since then, we've done a lot of web marketing and innovations, and we've slowly moved away from the direct mailing market. 1992, I talked about the drink machine, but it was really in 1986 when we had one of our first commercial products, which is first called the Flurry. You might know it today as the Mixin' Machine or the McFlurry. And then actually, the spoon was also designed by us way back time.
Oh my gosh.
The idea came off of the idea of those little wooden spoons that come with ice cream cups that people could easily mix their concoction with, but then still take it away to enjoy.
Very interesting.
And one of our more, less conservative marketing campaigns or edgy ones is the Naked Chefs. And that was from 1999 until 2003 or 2004. And where chefs would really bear it all and saying how much they loved their Vitamix machine. And this is what helped launch the Vita Prep.
Okay, that is so funny.
Oh, this is the blending station. So this is one of our very first covered machines. And this is kind of the precursor to what the quiet one is today.
Okay, so this was more for commercial use?
Yes. So you'd be able to have it on the counter in a smoothie chain, blend your drinks, but you would also be able to close it up, which helped dampen the sound a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The first one wasn't as quiet, and since then we've innovated off of it. One thing you'll notice here is we weren't always known as Vitamix. So we originally started out in 1921 as Barnard Sales Company. The company didn't actually become Vitamix Corporation until 1966. Before that, we were several different versions of Natural Foods Institute. We became Natural Foods Incorporated in 1955, one, because we incorporated, and two, because the government said, you're not an institute for anything, you're not an education place. So we had to change our name just to be compliant. And then in 2010 is when we rebranded and Vitamix became one word. We removed the iconic dash, and that's what we are today. The other thing we're behind is the story of us owning our supply chain, and actually a majority of our suppliers are within 200 miles of our factory, and that's another way we keep our ecological footprint relatively small. So as we go in to the next room, we're starting to enter the late 90s into the 2000s. We're going from a beloved brand to iconic. We're expanding globally, both with the commercial market as well as the household. First starting in Japan in 1995, but then expanding into Taiwan, the UK, and now we're in over, I believe, 300 and some different countries. On the wall behind you, just like the other one, you have the Quiet One machine, which is the predecessor from the blending station. You also have a variety of our anniversary cookbooks, modern day direct mailings, as well as different cookbooks, advertisements, and things from our international distributors. As then we have the 5200, which was the next iteration of the TNC and the modern day one that everybody would know about. But from there, we've gone to the Ascent and the G series, the 7500, and really expanded that out. This one is actually signed because it was signed by everybody who helped produce the machine on the very first production run.
That's my favorite one. My favorite.
And this really sets us towards the future where you can use things like the food processor, the small cups and bowls, really making yourself have a kitchen system. So when the museum was first built, we had 858 patents total. We're now up to 930. So we're working on updating that.
Yeah.
But we're always innovating. We're always trying to figure out what the customer needs and how we can help benefit them. So while we have some production at Usher Road, it's mostly commercial focused. The majority of our production is also done over in our facility in Strongsville.
Okay.
So that's where about 80% of your Vitamixes come from.
Well, and people are always asking, where are they made? And they're made in the U.S.
In the U.S., in Ohio.
Yeah.
In 2002 is when we really started getting into retail with Costco. And then in 2010 is when we first aired in QVC, and that's where we really went back to our infomercial roots.
Uh-huh.
Our XL machine is our largest capacity commercial blender.
Wow, I have never
And it can do a gallon to a gallon and a half. And it's a belt-driven machine, so it's quite interesting.
Wow. So who uses that?
This would be nursing homes,
Okay.
high capacity, like chefs and different things. They want that level of quantity.
Wow.
I remember coming in as a kid and they were testing it out, and they'd take those giant GFS cans of raviolis and just blend them all in one.
Oh my goodness.
It makes really great hummus and stuff too.
I bet it does.
So the Professional Series 500 is significant. This was the very first household machine to ever have the pre-programmed settings on it. And before this point in time, this was only available to commercial market. And we have our new immersion blender, where we're stepping into different forms of blending outside of the traditional blenders. Then, when we entered QVC in 2010, we have our variety of colors that started unlocking. Initially, all you could get was a white shell. Then we eventually added black and red, but it wasn't until QVC that we added blue, and now the variety that the Vitamix machine comes in. And in 2020, we launched the food cycler, so you can blend in your Vitamix, but you can still use all of your food scraps and things and make wonderful compost for your gardens. The other thing we have is our wall of gratitude. And this is where we wanted to thank everybody who has been a part of making the Vitamix brand what it is today. So it's our employees, it's our retailers, it's our affiliates, it's our chef partners, our PR connections, our distributors, our suppliers, everybody who has a Vitamix, who's been part of our story. We really wanted to make sure that we were thanking them.
I love that.
And today we're still striving to continue our commitment to whole health and really following the family's legacy there. Our chefs are always trying to figure out the next ways that we can cut out sugars and unnecessary fats and really make the healthiest recipes to empower people to really live a great diet and wonderful life, and really make sure that we can help them through their journey. The other thing, if you look over here, we have a picture of our repair team. There's only about 7 people, but if you think of the millions of Vitamixes that are out in the market today, we only need that small of a repair department in order to service them all.
Well, that's quite a testimony, isn't it, to the reliability of the Vitamix?
We really try to build a machine that will last for generations to come.
Okay, I know people that are using 30 and 40-year-old Vitamix blenders. You know, it's like, oh, this one's from my grandma, and it's still going strong, you know.
They're heritage products.
They are.
And they last and people love them, and we appreciate everybody who uses them.
So is this open to the public?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But that is something that we're working on doing at some point in time.
Oh, that would be great. I think people would love it. I think once people know the story behind products, it gives them a different perspective about it. And they love anything with the family aspect to it. And the fact that family is still involved in the Vitamix company.
Well, and really, we didn't start to really get out in the world until the 2000s. And so a lot of people don't realize the heritage to the brand.
Right.
We only have recently become very much iconic and kind of a household name, but you might not consider that it's stretched back 100 years and it's really stayed true to its roots.
Right. Well, in the plant-based community, like everybody knows the name Vitamix. Like you don't have to say Vitamix blender. You just say Vitamix and everybody knows what you're talking about because so many of us use it and we use it multiple times every day. I mean, I can't imagine how I would cook in my kitchen without all of my Vitamix machines because I rely on them because I don't have anything else that can do what they do. And so I can't imagine. Like sometimes we have two of them going at the same time. I'll be making something, Tom will be making something, you know, just so that we can get all of our food made. So, well, this has just been absolutely amazing. What a treat. This is a beautiful museum, and I can't thank you enough for spending time with us and sharing this with us and with our viewers as well. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for visiting us, and thank you so much for being a part of our Vitamix family. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, well, we're happy to be associated with the Vitamix company. We really are. So thank you everyone for watching today. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you want to know more about Vitamix, you can visit the Vitamix website. We'll put a link in the show notes down below so that you can take a look at the amazing products. I have a lot of videos on the YouTube channel showing you how I use my Vitamix blender, my immersion blender, my food processor, so you can check those out as well. I'm Tami, and I help you get healthy and stay healthy one meal at a time. See you next time.